All right, we are live. This is Rediscovering Black Conservatism. This is a very special episode. I'm with a personal friend, a personal guy from Jersey politics. We here with David Winkler. What's up, man?
What's going on, brother?
Everything's good, man. I'm glad you're here to be a part of this discussion. Real quick before we get into the discussion, just tell the people what you got going on in New Jersey. How you plan to help New Jersey?
So I'm excited. As you probably know, I was running for Congress earlier on this year. I stepped out of the race so that I could help out New York City with COVID-19 relief. And then now I'm back into the race in the sense of now I'm going for New Jersey State Senate, which will be part of the 2021 elections. So everything is geared towards, this brand of conservatism that's become quite popular amongst the minority communities. Getting back to our roots of Lincoln Republicans, constitutionalists, and doing right by the people. Very limited government, just getting people out there and trying to boost them up to be the best that they can, and prosper. So I'm going to try to do what I can do to help out New Jersey.
Of course. Now, for all of those that need a little bit of education, just break, because they have something now called the Lincoln Project that's going against Trump. So when you hear the word Lincoln, some people may be thrown off. So just explain to people what Lincoln Republicanism is so they get an idea.
So, pretty much the idea of when I say the words Lincoln Republican, what I'm looking at is the abolitionist aspect of a Lincoln Republican. So more about the individual freedoms. So things that we should be talking about, like, things like Second Amendment, or anything that deals with, as I said, individual rights. That's given to us, our inalienable rights. Shoot, we even could talk about it in New Jersey. I know it's getting too much into it already, but things like what happened with the vaccinations last year. Those are the individual liberties and rights that we believe in as Lincoln Republicans. Protecting those religious freedoms. The pro-life aspect. I know that's controversial, but that's another right to life. Things that, as I said, are just enrooted into less government, more individual freedom.
Right. Okay. So basically, the reason why we're doing this show, because I want to kick it into high gear, because for all the people that's watching, the reason why, if you looked at the title, it's basically Black minority Republicans getting into very taboo subjects. So I found a list of questions by a liberal, and basically on the post, the liberal was saying, oh, Black minority Republicans don't want to address certain issues. So basically, our point of doing this show, I want everybody to listen and everybody to watch. We're touching on taboo subjects. We're touching on the subjects that they say, oh, Black Republicans don't want to talk about. Minority, brown Republicans don't want to talk about. So we're going to get into that right now. One of the questions that he asked that I thought was a good question was, he said, the guy who's the liberal, I'm not going to say his name, he said more Black Americans, minority Americans, are getting into the clean energy space because, those are jobs for the future, right? And he said that if Republicans cared about their minority constituents, why do they reject the Green New Deal and certain Democratic initiatives that would help put people in that clean energy space, and especially the minorities coming in to basically facilitate an easy transition from the old economy into the new economy. So why do we reject the green energy deal, something that he believes would help minorities in the clean transition and get better paying jobs? So you want to take that first?
Yeah. So what I would say to the Democrat side is be careful, because it's not exactly that we disagree, at least from my personal standpoint. A lot of these things are wrapped up underneath the new opportunity zones aspects underneath Donald Trump's plans. So if you look at revitalization, you look at the platinum plans, you look at all that. I will tell you, West New York, New Jersey right now is looking for people that want to invest into the solar aspects on houses, right? And that is huge for the Black community that is getting into that area to go ahead and bid in those contracts and bid to work with the cities, work with the counties, work with the state when it comes to those cool technical fields. What we're not okay with is going ahead and abolishing the oil industry, or really doing harm to those blue collar workers that are out there mining and doing everything else, or fracking and all that stuff, because that actually, there is a huge amount of Black community that are involved in that in places like Texas. You look in the Midwest, there's Black communities that are mining and doing that stuff that would be hurtful underneath that Green New Deal, to be able to transition that quickly within, like, I think 12 years. That's going to do a lot of damage, right? We don't have a lot of the Black community yet in this new technological phase of solar, new types of energy. We're still working on that. We're still working what is going to work, what's not going to work over in places like New Jersey, New York, you name it. I would love to see the Black community in that, but let's go ahead and roll them up underneath opportunity.
Right.
Get them heavily invested to work here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you definitely bring up a good point. I'm gonna address that issue, and I come from a perspective of the reason why it may appear on the surface that conservatives don't want to address the issue. There's been a lot of misinformation, and I see it on the website as far as clean energy. And I always point my conservative friends, you don't know, most conservatives, they'll be shocked to find out that there is clean energy conservative groups. Conservatives have roots in clean energy. You talk about conservative conservation nonprofit, right? You have the Clean Capitalist Coalition. So conservatives are just, I believe a lot of them are misinformed, and they don't know that as conservatives, that's not a conversation that we have to back away from. We have roots in the clean energy space.
Yeah.
Like, for example, we're not against clean energy. We just want to take market-friendly approaches. Like, for example, my friends over there at Clean Capitalist Technology, they propose legislation like, for example, clean energy bonds, right? Or smart energy bonds, which means that these clean energies will have access to capital through municipal and corporate bonds at a friendly rate, right? So that way the government doesn't have to subsidize and suck down billions of dollars to an industry that may or may not work. Because, like, for example, whether you're on the left or the right, we all know that oil is a non-renewable source, right? Whether it's 50 years or 100 years from now, it's not going to last forever. So we all know we need to do something. But what is the most efficient way? The people at Capitalist Coalition have come up with a clean energy bond asset purchasing program where they can get access fast. I mean, bonds are fast access to capital at good, friendly prices. You have stuff like that. And then you have stuff like voluntary carbon emissions reporting, where they don't have those big standards like California, where we want to be zero or negative emissions by 2034. They do have something where, okay, you report how much carbon emissions you're emitting to the federal government, so we can track and we can keep studies on where we need to go as a society as far as clean energy. But nobody is instituting some type of tax on you, right? Number 3, let's talk about and I'm gonna give the floor to you in 1 second. Let's talk about tax initiatives, right? The problem is with the Democratic Green New Deal, they tend to favor one industry over another. They say, okay, we like clean energy. Let's give them tax incentives. Oh, the oil industry, let's give them nothing. Basically try to push them out of the way. No, what the clean capitalists have said, let's get equal access to tax incentives, right? Because as Republicans, we believe in tax incentives, which is fine, but let's be equal, right? If you're going to give tax incentives to one, give them to everybody and let the market sort it out, right? Everybody get equal opportunity. That's the Constitution, right? Equal opportunity. So if you make a law, let's do equal opportunity under law. Let everybody get tax incentives and back off, and let's see what happens. How you feel about that?
So what I was gonna say exactly what you were about to say, in the sense of Democrats love to overregulate. you see it quite a lot, whether it be the energy industry, you see it in the car manufacturing, you see it all over the place, right? It hinders that market. It hinders our ability to, create, GDP growth. When you sit there and you overregulate, that's why I agreed with Trump's plan to deregulate. And that's something that we need to have a conversation as conservatives and Democrats from a minority standpoint, and really take a look at what that means.
Right.
It's something that, as I said, I believe in the free market approach and equal access. And that's something, as you were saying, and you hit it and nailed it on the head. Democrats love to pick and choose. Like, they're against, as I said, the oil industry. They're against, miners. They're against whatever. But you need to have that free market and equality amongst all of it, right? And that's why I love the opportunity zones. It says, hey, equal access to things that they, once weren't, eligible for. Now they're eligible to go ahead and get into that clean energy, as you're alluding to.
Right. Correct. And like I said, for those conservatives, I just want to say this before we move on. We have to get rid of the misinformation. As conservatives, we don't necessarily have to go with the talking point of, climate change, either I don't want to talk about it or it's not real. We have roots in the clean energy space. So all the people that's watching this, when you get a chance, go to Clean Capitalist Coalition on Facebook and check out their website. Or you could go to the famous conservative conservation nonprofit. They're one of the biggest out there, and see what market-friendly approaches they got. And as conservatives, let's educate ourselves. Go ahead. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
And one final note on that is, I always tell conservatives, do not shy away from climate change talks or energy talks in general, because we got to remind ourselves that we don't represent just the Republican side. If we get elected, we represent both sides, and it should be, both sides should feel represented. And so we should listen to what they have to say on the left when it comes to climate change. And we should always be moving towards a cleaner energy anyway, a better production for the cities. I mean, that's your children's future, or the future generation. So we should be caring about things like climate change. We don't have to necessarily, as you said, embrace that far progressive approach, but we can be more common sense approach.
Right. Very. And it's funny that you said that. That's the type of republicanism that we have to move to. More common sense, more pragmatic. Let's see what works, what doesn't work. Let's get out of this kind of ideological warfare where it's like a battle of ideas, instead of saying, look, there's people out here due to COVID-19, people are losing their loved ones. You have civil unrest in the streets. You have people threatening a race war. With all that's going on, we need a pragmatic approach. We don't need a practice in idealism, right? Because that's what's going on, idealism. With all the stuff that's going on, we need to come to the table, see what works and what doesn't work. And like you said, reach across the aisle. So the next question I want to get into is a topic favorite of liberals, and basically a topic favorite of everybody. The black and white wealth gap, right? The black and white racial disparity. So as you know, as everybody knows, there's a gap between the black and white wealth gap, so to speak. So I think it's something is for every dollar or for every 10 cents African American have, it's $1 or something for, and the way you break it down, don't quote me on that, but it's something to that effect where you could see the divide. So they say, why don't we address this issue? So from your perspective, when somebody comes to you saying, hey, listen, you're a brown Republican, I'm a black Republican, there's a gap between the brown and the white gap or racial gap. There's a gap between it. So how would you, as a conservative, apply principles to fix that? What's your response?
So first of all, I'm a huge advocate for getting rid of identity politics in the form of legislation. So I do not like when we advocate for, either a certain demographic to receive certain things while another demographic doesn't. It's the same approach as I said with the last topic we had. Our legislation should be meant to favor all. and boost all towards an end state that helps. So when it comes to things of fixing wage gap, let's, as I said, open up equal access to opportunities. Now we can bring in additional incentives for the Black or in my area Hispanic Latino to open up businesses, and we incentivize it, as you said, through things like taxes, corporate tax rates, lowering it for them for a certain amount of time so that they can actually grow to the size of their white counterparts. When you decide to lower things or lower taxes on them, and you do it over a period of time so that they can, as I said, raise their equity level to be equal towards the white counterparts. But I'm not a huge fan of putting identity on legislation, but I do believe to get that to help out the Democrats that believe that, let's go ahead and create that equal access to opportunity, and let's go ahead and create lowered tax incentives for the minority populace over a period of time, so they have the time to go ahead and equalize, and then we can go ahead and flatten it and make it equal across the board.
Right, correct. And I'm just going to jump in here. When you talk about the wealth gap, well, we have to analyze how is wealth built for the common man, right? From my understanding, from all the knowledge that I've received and everything that I've been taught, everything that I've read, for the common man, wealth is built over time, right? So when you talk about building wealth, I honestly believe this is not a full-on job for the federal government. This is a job where there needs to be some type of partnership, maybe a partnership between state, local officials, and nonprofits. Like state officials can team up with nonprofits that's in the financial literacy course, right? Let's get awareness out there, because a lot of wealth building comes from awareness, right? Some people don't know how to build wealth. Maybe they have certain things holding them back. Some Democrats would say, well, first step is to get jobs, right? And we do need to get people in higher paying positions. I'm in favor of that. But there's many people in higher paying positions that have the income that don't necessarily have the wealth. Those are two different things. So what we got to do is we have to believe in this idea called the shared burden, because we have this thing in today's society where the government can do all, right? They can be the family farmers, they can be the wealth builders. And the truth is, the government is limited in what it can do, right? So in those areas where the government is limited, then there needs to be a partnership. They can partner with nonprofit organizations and go on a community tour, a wealth building tour, right? Teach people how to build wealth. As a matter of fact, the great thing about today's society, they've made wealth building, they've streamlined the process, right? If you look at apps like Acorn, right, where you swipe your card and it takes the change and put it in, you don't have to think about it, or you can set a date, and on that date the money comes out. So and actually this is funny, because studies show that with people, when you automate the process, wealth building goes up. So what I mean is this: if you go according to the old model and you say, hey, listen, forget about wealth building, that's not my problem, that's your problem, you save when you got to, right? Studies show that wealth stagnates. But when you create a streamlined process for individuals to make it better, like, hey, listen, there's apps and all this type of stuff where you don't think about it, you just set it and forget it, right? It shows that wealth building goes up. It's the same reason why most jobs now, if you realize, most employers now, they push you into a 401k and or a pension. And the reason why, well, go ahead. I'll let you go.
So that's actually what I was going to state was a great example of that was the U.S. military. The U.S. military changed from their old retirement system to a blended retirement system that automatically took out 2% for every soldier and automatically put it into a Roth IRA plan for them, or the TSP. So they're automatically building, and then they'll match up to 5% of whatever you put in there. But you are right in the sense of that is one of my plans is retirement. Retirement it can create that change within the wealth gap. If people know how to properly save, I did it for 15 years in the military. I put 10% away in my retirement fund every single year. I taught my subordinates to do the same thing. I taught them what each fund meant. And that's something that I think that needs to get across to, everybody, not just the minority community, every aspect of New Jersey. You say, hey, this is what a Roth IRA plan is. This is a 401 or 401k. This is what all these things that they can do to invest, gold, or precious minerals and stuff like that. CDs, bonds, all that. They don't teach that. And I think a lot of the problem is our education system in junior high or elementary school, junior high, and high school. They don't even teach you how to balance a checkbook before you leave high school. Right. They need to hit all those subjects, because I think our youth is very impressionable. If you teach them what right looks like and how to save and invest and do all that, they're going to be better off for the future.
Right. No. And the funny thing is, you're definitely right about that. And I would say for all my conservatives, like you said, don't shy away from these issues, right? Because what Democrats do is they love to make it about race, right? Now, we are talking about race, and we're talking about the black and wealth gap, but what's so slick about Democrats is they offer problems, but they never offer solutions, right? Yeah. Well, it's a bunch of discrimination. Okay, well, what solutions do you have? We are going to court in the data, right? What does the data tell me? The data says that when you automate the process, wealth building goes up. And that's the reason why, like you said, the military job employers literally push their employees because why? Because in the past, let's go back to the 60s and 70s, right? People got a paycheck and they was like, you know what? I have to take every penny and put it into my day-to-day expenses, right? And because they didn't push them in the past, now these people are retiring. They say, "Oh, I have nothing," and now it's a crisis, right? I'm retired. I'm 70. My bones are brittle. I can't work anymore, and I have nothing, right? So now they don't even listen to people when people say, "Oh, I need my whole check." No, you don't. They put the 5% in. They literally say, "I don't want to hear," because what happens is that as human beings, we can be very short-sighted. And another thing with saving is that we have to be aware of the pitfalls that go against saving. And the pitfalls is, as human beings, even me included, I'm not making this part a black issue or white issue. As human beings, we could be short-sighted, right? We got kids, we got a girlfriend. So our thinking could be, listen, if I'm getting $2,000 a paycheck, I need my whole paycheck. I got all these things I want to do. And sometimes by mistake, that can take precedence off of the future, right? So we have the technology. All we have to do is bring awareness to the neighbor. Because you have some people that live in the urban centers. They say, "Oh man, I can't save no money. I'm making this money." And you say, "Hey, there's hope for you," right? And that's what we got to do as conservatives. We got to bring hope. There's hope for you. Like, for example, did you buy that cup of coffee? Do you know there's an app where you just spend $1.50, they just save 50 cents, and you don't even think about it. Every time you swiping, they're rounding up, saving money. So you say, "Well, wow, I saved $30. See, we have to bring the ambassadors of hope. And this is realistic stuff that can happen. And the Democrats will tell you, see, with the Democrats, what they want to do is they love to present a roadblock and keep it there. You know why? Because that's what gets them elected, right? They tell you same thing with Joe Biden. This is,
If I could interject, I think that's just politics in general, and I'm one of those common sense Republicans that would say that it's technically on both sides. So I got to be quite honest with the people. I think both sides are like, hey, there's a need, vote for me. But I only see it truly right now from the Republican Party that they are more solutions based. So not only are they'll say, hey, they identify a shortfall, but they're coming out with a solution. But I do agree with you on the Democrat side. It's because majority of their platform relies on big governance and the government to come in and save the people rather than limited government like us and just creating solutions that keep people independent. They create a lot of dependence on the left side. It's not worked for, as he said, for 40, 50, 60 years, going all the way back to LBJ with the Great Societal Program. It's literally hurt the minority community by being so dependent and being married to the government that resistance to change is what we're seeing. Is people are like, wait a moment, I've been so used to being so dependent on what the Democrats have put out there that I fear, leaving the nest and being so independent. And I feel like the Republicans do give hope on that. Or some of the Republicans give hope on that.
Right.
But one of the big things I did want to hit something that's underestimated a lot is life insurance. It's another way to create generational wealth as well, because you can take out, and I hate to say it for the loved ones that pass away, but they have up to $1 million life insurance, and that's something that will really help out your future generations or your kids. I know in the military I had about $400,000 worth of life insurance from my one plan. So if I would have gotten hurt or killed, or killed actually over there in the line of duty overseas, at least my kids would have had the 400,000 to do take care of bills and do what they need to do. So don't ever count out life insurance. Make sure you have it.
Right. No, definitely. This is basically financial literacy 101. It's definitely important. And just before we leave this point, I want to make one more point. Don't forget college preparedness, right? We all have kids, right? And the cost of college is like outrageous. I was speaking to a young lady and I said, hey, they have the Gerber plan, right? I mean, literally.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned it. I was about to say Gerber.
I mean, literally, you pay like $30 a month and then you get $40,000. So if you can spare $40, $50 a month, that means when the kid turns 18, he has $60,000, maybe $70,000 waiting for him. Now, college is so expensive, you may have to get additional sources of funding, but you'll have that bridge so that way college costs are not burdening, because it's literally becoming a burden. Like, it's a burden on the kid because the kid is like, okay, I gotta study and then I gotta get a job and I gotta do all this because everything is centered around expenses. And then the parent is overburdened because a lot of these parents may be homeowners, right? They're already paying a big mortgage, and especially in Jersey, big taxes. I'm talking about outrageous taxes. That's a whole nother subject. Outrageous taxes. And then on top of that, they got this big college cost for their kids. They want to better their future. So it becomes nothing but a burden on everybody. So the whole thing is about this wealth gap. Part of it is making people aware that there's a way, because the truth is, no matter what people tell you, this is not a subject really that the government can close. The truth is, the government can present opportunity, but it can't fully force people to close the wealth gap. But see, what people get wrong about limited government doesn't have to mean, oh, I kick you out in the cold, right? Because I believe, this is my personal belief, conservatism is limited government. Conservatism is a balanced budget, right? But the community activism in me, the compassionate side of me says, let's set up a fund amongst community leaders so that we can make awareness, right? So there is that side of me personally of conservatism that I love to help people, right? I love to see people grow, and that's where I feel like we have to move as far as conservatism. Now, the third issue, which I think was very interesting, he talked about super PACs, right? And he says, hey, listen, if Black Republicans care about their running mates, whether you talk about Kim Klacik or John James or Asia Smith of California, Joe Collins from California, you got all these great Black Republicans. I mean, explosion of Black Republicans running for office, right? And he says, well, why aren't there super PACs for them? And instead of them taking the establishment's money, I'm gonna put it that way, taking the establishment's money, or I'm gonna put it out there, or taking non-minority money.
Yeah.
And just, I'm gonna jump on this because this is something that I've talked about. Now, you and me have had conversations about the establishment, just me and you off the record.
Yeah.
And me and you have both came to the conclusion that we do agree with, yes, we have to be self-funded, right? All of my Republican political organizations, we have to come to the table, right? everybody who's a part of a Republican organization, yes, you have to put skin in the game, right? You have to put your time, energy, and money into this. And also, too, we have to get better at fundraising so that way we can be self-funded. Now, I do believe in the idea of a Black Republican PAC. As a matter of fact, I think Rush Limbaugh's host, I forgot the black guy's name. I forgot his name. I can't think of it right now. But I know that a while ago he had started a super PAC. So I do believe in not allowing ourselves to be caught up in the establishment and to finding ways where we can create organic organizations, whether it's clubs or 501c3s that are self-funded, where they can have a voice and people don't feel like these people are controlled by the elite. And that's the reason why you see now the big push for campaign finance laws, right? You have people that'll say, hey, listen, look at my records. I'm only taking money from $1 or what they call the $5 donations. Why? Because I want to have a voice. I don't want to be a ventriloquist dummy. So there are one or two Black PACs out there I've researched. Now, are there enough? No, they're not enough. But that doesn't mean, okay, just because, and this is what people get wrong about politics. Yes, there are people that are behind the scenes pulling the strings. But just because people are receiving funds, it don't mean they're not trying to do what's best for their community. For example, with Kim Klacik, she did very well, right? She did the ads. I'm talking about money poured in for her, like millions of dollars. Now, that doesn't mean because the millions of dollars are coming from out of state, that don't mean that she doesn't want to help the residents of Baltimore because somebody's writing her a check. Same thing with Joe Collins. If he beats Maxine Waters, because he's raised $3 million by the people outside of Compton where he's running, that doesn't mean that he's automatically going to sell people out. So I think in politics, there's been this preconceived notion that, you know, every dollar given to you brings you closer to the selloutism, you know? So that's kind of, that's kind of one of those conversations that's very subjective, right? Oh, you took money from this people. That means, you're going to be a sellout. And it doesn't mean that. It's based on the person's platform and what they're pushing for. So I don't know because I know in your campaign, and I want to get into that, you're running to help New Jersey. And I'm pretty sure you have to gather a coalition of people that's going to contribute to ensure that you have a fighting chance in your campaign. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to be that Lincoln Republican that people need you to be.
Yeah. So in the case of Kim Klacik, I think I've had a dinner with her in New Jersey, where you didn't see it on her documentary, but off screen she told us about how her establishment, didn't give her any help. She pretty much had to fight tooth and nail for that national attention from the national RNC. She eventually got the attention, but I believe that all the states are kind of that way. They have those select few elites that they pay attention to in must-win districts. And so if you're this outsider grassroots person, you really got to make a name for yourself for them to start caring and wanting to put money into whatever you're doing or really take notice of you. I mean, that's what, it's what happened to me in the 8th district when I was running for Congress. It's what happens to Billy Prepa over there in the 9th district, where you gotta make some noise for these people to start, caring about what you're doing over here. And the truth of the matter is, for me, is I saw a lot of it when I was running for Congress, where you hear, you're beholden to this big company that gives you money, you name it. But I'm kind of a firm believer of what you're saying is it doesn't. You have to exercise common sense, and you have to exercise, discretion. Like, so if you're going to take money from a big thing, you always have to ask, or a big company, you always have to ask, what are you trying to get in return? And if it doesn't align with your morals, obviously kick that money to the side and say, nope, I'm good. But maintain who you are. And I don't think it's only just a Republican party problem. I think it's a Democrat Party problem. And I think it's independent as well. That it's big organizations that want to affect policy. And that's why they often throw money at candidates. So I think that to me, it's just a sensitive subject because I try to remain as grassroots as possible from all over the United States. I have people from Texas donating. I got people from Montana. I got people from California. I got people all over the place that are listening to the message, and that's what they want for New Jersey, even though they're not New Jersey citizens. I don't have a lot of help right now as Hudson County because I'm in a plus 27 held Democrat area. So anything Republican is like automatically no, I don't want anything Republican. But slowly that message is getting out there that I'm not that typical Republican, and I'm starting to see donations come in from Hudson County, as well as Democrats that are like, wait a moment, this guy is not that typical Republican, so they're wanting to deal with me. But I have to continue this kind of messaging and continue to get out there for money to flow in. But I'm never going to rely on the establishment. And I'll tell everybody here who wants to run, never rely on the establishment to do the work for you. Be who you are, get out there, and be the change that you want to be. And people will naturally gravitate towards your message.
Right. Well, what you're saying is very true because there's been people that I've seen, and this is what I've learned from politics too, right? If you want to be a leader, you have to go through the fire, right? You got to go through the hard work, right? That means that people are not just going to show up and support you, right? You have to make the phone calls. You got to walk the streets. You got to put the signs up, right? Sometimes you have to be your own campaign manager, right? You got to be your own digital marketer until change comes. But that's part of being a leader, right? A lot of times when you're a leader, you have to wear different hats. Like right now, I have my group for everybody in Jersey is getting noticed. New Jersey Black Republican Club. I'm getting more and more people every day that want to join, and I'm putting the pieces together. And I'm out here. Like yesterday, I just did phone banking for Tom Keene Jr. and he's a great guy. Hope he wins. But the point is that right now, I'm the chair. I'm the digital marketer, right? I'm the outreach director. I'm everybody right now. But it's okay because if you call yourself a leader, this is the process, right? Like I seen an interesting quote that you said. I looked on your web on the trend in 2021. I think you said the pain of endurance or something like that. The patience, the wings of patience. I forgot. I'm sorry, I forgot.
The wing, or I know what you're talking about. It's talking about the transformation is born of patience and struggle, or real transformation. You have to go through. You have to learn how to go through obstacles, and when you hit an obstacle, you don't stop. You have to figure out a way around it, and it's going to take a lot of patience and a lot of struggling to get past those obstacles. But never give up on your goals or your dreams to accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Right. And I'm looking at the time. Okay,
because the wings of transformation are born of patience and struggle.
Right. So because of time constraints, we're gonna lock into one more subject, and it rolls off of what you're saying. Like you said, in order to be a leader, you have to go through those things. Now, I want to keep it now in Jersey. I want to end in Jersey. Now you have 2021 elections. You have the governor's race. You have this race. You have that race. What, in your mind, what do you think the Republicans in New Jersey, the leadership, and the people from district to district need to do to flip the state? What changes as far as a Republican mentality, our ideology? What changes do you feel need to happen within the party so that we can flip every district? I mean, that'll be a dream, but I'm just, putting it out there.
Well, to me I kind of embrace those Democrat sides to where they don't feel like they're being heard or properly represented when it comes to a Republican leader. So they got to be more open to sitting down with the other side, listening to what actually not only listening, but actually truly hearing what the other side has got to say, and then trying to meet them halfway. All right. So, I mean, no far right kind of policies. Try to come back, at least halfway to meeting the Democrat side. We are up here in the North where I'm at. It's purely ran by Democrats. If I were to be the strong-armed, right-wing kind of guy, there's no chance that you're ever going to see a red a red wave here. You have to kind of be that mature leader. You got to sit down and say, hey, Democrats, I'm here to listen to what you guys got to say. All right. And then same thing with my conservative style policies. I have to kind of somewhat meet these guys in the middle. And as I said, be a mature leader, put partisanship aside, work with the other side of the aisle, and, embrace these young leaders. We got a lot of old Republicans, nothing wrong with that. But we got to embrace some of these young torchbearers and start bringing them into the fold, start mentoring them properly, and then letting them take the lead, because we got a dinosaur of a party here, and they're about to die off. They're about 40 years to 60 years in power, some of these chairs. They got to be able to mentor the youth and get going on it.
Right. No, and that's important. Like you said, definitely pass the torch. I do feel like, we need new energy, right? We need new energy, and we need new innovative ways of doing things, right? We can't do things the same way we've been doing it for 40 years, because then we're fighting a losing battle, right?
Yep.
We're definitely fighting a losing battle. So, basically, before we close, like I said, keeping it in Jersey, can you just give people a quick outline of your policy, District 8, what district it covers, and the platform you stand on, just to give people what you do.
So it changes from congressional District 8 to where I'm now looking at District 33 of New Jersey, which covers Weehawken, Union City, and some wards within Jersey City. Pretty much what I'm trying to do is we got a lot of problems due to coronavirus pandemic. So small businesses are something that I'm trying to tackle and save, because a lot of them have gone under due to the COVID-19. They were not accessible to the PPP loans and a lot of these COVID relief packages. So what I'm going to do, as I said, is bring in a lot of what President Trump already put in place, which is the Revitalization Act, a platinum plan, as well as I'll be championing a Latin version of the platinum plan to be sent up to the federal means and trying to help us out here. The other piece of that is I'm trying to bring affordable housing. And what I'm trying to do for that is I got to bring in big business to bring sustainable jobs that equal or more income than the housing here, because you're not going to be able to just lower the price of housing here. So you have to be able to create wages that equal or above for these people to survive. Another thing that I'm looking at is I am wanting to sit down with people over clean energy. So I want to sit down with Democrats and sit there and talk about ways, because we are looking towards solar here in our district. And so I want to best help these people take advantage of, or my community take advantage of the government programs here to tackle that issue. Another thing is that I want to take advantage of here is the social justice aspect. I believe in police reform. So I do want to sit down and talk about police reform. And at the same time, I want to talk about criminal justice aspect as well. Trying to see what we can do to help out those that were affected by disproportionate, marijuana arrests and stuff like that. So I do want to have those conversations. And I think it's something that our people really are, whether you're Democrat or Republican, they really want to, fix these issues. So you name it. My website lays it all out. I'm here to also fix the Second Amendment, by the way. So there's some New Jersey statutes in there that are not constitutional that I need to fix, so that everybody can go ahead and have the right to, purchase as well as carry if they need to through concealed carries. So
okay,
there's a lot I got going on.
Yeah. So due to time, I think we're gonna close it out a little bit. So for all of those people that's gonna watch this that live in Jersey, if you live in the 8th Congressional District, don't be afraid to check out his website. Check out his platform, see what he's about. Be open to, like I said, be open to a new way of doing things, because I believe that this election cycle is going to change everything. I believe a lot of change is coming. And like you said, we need new energy and we need new blood. So definitely check out his website, and also check out his nonprofit, right? Strength Through Unity.
Yes. Strength Through Unity.
Yes.
2 seconds spiel on it. All it is about getting in there, and regardless of your white, black, or in between, bringing them to the table to help out with social justice issues and really help out within the inner cities. And that's pretty much mentoring our youth on financial literacy and getting after those problems that we were talking about earlier, and bringing a nonprofit to the table to handle that for pretty much free for the communities. So
very good. So once again, for all those that missed it, please go back over this live, watch it, think about it, and basically digest it. Like I said, I'm here with future, say 2021 candidate David Winkler for the 8th Congressional District. And it's been a very lively discussion. And I definitely want to thank this man for utilizing his time for us. And I encourage everybody to watch my live streams, and hopefully you can get the type of information that you deserve. And that's it. And I want to thank everybody.
All right.